The human ship that approached the Silent Dawn was unlike anything Jinwoo had seen before. Its hull seemed to shimmer with a strange energy, and its movement through space was too smooth, too quiet. Most ships left some kind of energy trail, but this vessel moved as if space itself was helping it along. "So Young, are you getting any readings from that ship?" Jinwoo asked his communications officer. So Young shook her head, looking puzzled at her instruments. "The sensors show it is there, but I cannot detect what kind of engines it uses. The power signature is completely unknown." Tae-hyun, the security chief, studied the approaching vessel with growing concern. "Captain, that ship should not be able to move like that. Our database shows no human technology capable of such performance." The human vessel stopped exactly 1,000 meters away from the Silent Dawn. It maintained perfect position without any visible effort, as if it was locked in place by invisible forces. Jinwoo had commanded ships for 20 years, and he knew how difficult it was to maintain such precise positioning in space. "This is Commander Yu Jin of the Earth vessel Silence Keeper," came a voice over the communication system. "We are prepared to escort you to a meeting location. Please follow our lead and do not deviate from the designated path." Jinwoo hesitated. The human's tone was polite but firm. There was an authority in the voice that had not been there in previous dealings with humans. It was as if they were no longer asking for permission, they were giving instructions. "Understood. Commander Yu Jin," Jinwoo replied. "We are ready to follow." The human ship began moving toward the inner system, and the Silent Dawn followed. As they traveled, Bo-Ram watched the sensor readings carefully. Human space looked normal at first glance, but the more she studied the data, the more differences she noticed. Human mining operations were running at 3 times their normal capacity. Asteroid processing stations that should have taken years to complete their work were showing signs of being finished in just months. Space construction projects that had barely begun 6 months ago were now nearly complete. "How is this possible?" Bo-Ram wondered aloud. "They cannot have advanced their industrial capacity this much in such a short time." So Young was having her own discoveries. "Bo-Ram, look at these communication intercepts. The humans are talking to each other, but they are using some kind of new technology. I cannot decode any of their messages." This was very strange. The galactic communication standards were designed to be readable by all member species. For humans to develop their own private communication system meant they no longer wanted other species to understand their conversations. As they moved deeper into the Sol system, they passed several human colonies and space stations. Each one appeared to be operating at maximum efficiency. But more concerning were the military installations. Human defense platforms that had been simple structures 6 months ago were now complex facilities with energy readings that made no sense. "Tae-hyun," Jinwoo called to his security chief. "What do you make of those defense platforms?" Tae-hyun studied the readings with a worried expression. "Captain, those are not the same installations we saw during our last visit to human space. The weapon signatures are completely different, more powerful than anything in our database." "Are they threatening us?" Jinwoo asked. "No, sir, but they are clearly capable of it. These platforms could destroy most ships in the galaxy without difficulty." The escort ship led them to a space station near Jupiter. It was a new facility that had not existed during previous visits to the Sol system. The station was enormous, larger than most planetary cities, and it hummed with energy that made the Silent Dawn sensors struggle to process the data. "Silent Dawn, you are cleared for docking at Base 7, Commander Yu Jin announced. Please proceed slowly and follow all guidance signals." As they docked, Jinwoo noticed that the docking procedure was completely automated. Invisible forces guided their ship into the docking bay with perfect precision. No tractor beams, no visible technology, just smooth, effortless movement. "How are they doing that?" "So," Young whispered. "I do not know," Jinwoo replied. "But I am beginning to understand why they went quiet." After docking, they were met by a human delegation led by a woman named Hae-jin. She was dressed in a simple gray uniform that bore no resemblance to previous human military or civilian clothing. Her manner was friendly but formal, as if she was following very specific protocols. "Welcome to Research Station Prometheus," Hae-jin said. "We appreciate your concern for our welfare. Please follow me to a briefing room where we can discuss the situation." As they walked through the station corridors, Jinwoo was amazed by what he saw. The technology was clearly advanced beyond anything humans had possessed before. The walls seemed to glow with their own light. The air felt cleaner and more energized than on any space station he had visited. Most remarkably, everything operated in complete silence. "Your station is very impressive," Boram commented. "When was it built?" "Construction began 4 months ago," Hyojin replied casually. "It was completed 2 weeks ago." This statement shocked everyone. Building a station of this size should have taken several years, even with the most advanced technology available to galactic civilization. For humans to complete it in 4 months meant they had made incredible advances in construction technology. The briefing room was simple but elegant. Large windows showed views of Jupiter and its moons, while comfortable chairs surrounded a table that seemed to be made from a single piece of unknown material. Hyojin gestured for them to sit while she remained standing. "I know you have many questions," she began. "I will try to answer them as clearly as possible. First, let me assure you that humanity is safe and thriving. We have not suffered any disaster or encountered any hostile forces." "Then why did you stop all communication?" Jinwoo asked directly. Hyojin paused for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. "We entered a period of focused development. During this time, we needed to minimize external distractions while we completed important work." "What kind of work?" Boram pressed. "Scientific and technological research that required our complete attention. The results have exceeded our expectations." So-young leaned forward. "But why shut down all communication, even automated systems?" "Because," Hyojin said simply, "we needed to ensure that our research remained private until we were ready to share the results." Taehyun, who had been quiet until now, asked the question that worried him most. "We have observed significant changes in your military capabilities. Are you preparing for war?" Hyojin's expression became very serious. "We are preparing for defense. Our research has revealed potential threats that the galaxy has not yet recognized. We have been working to develop solutions." "What kind of threats?" Jinwoo demanded. "That information will be shared with the Galactic Council when the time is appropriate. For now, I can only tell you that humanity is committed to the defense of all galactic civilization." The meeting continued for 2 hours, but Hyojin revealed very little additional information. She answered questions politely but vaguely. It was clear that the humans had a plan, but they were not ready to share the details. What became obvious was that humanity had undergone massive changes during their period of silence. Their technology had advanced by decades or even centuries in just a few months. Their industrial capacity had increased dramatically. Most importantly, they had developed capabilities that other galactic species did not understand. When the meeting ended, Hyojin escorted them back to their ship. "Please convey our regards to the Galactic Council," she said. "Humanity remains committed to peaceful cooperation with all species. However, we ask that other ships maintain appropriate distance from human territory while we complete our current projects." "How long will this continue?" Boram asked. "Not much longer," Hyojin replied. "When we are ready, the galaxy will understand everything." As the Silent Dawn left the Jupiter station and began its journey back to the monitoring facility, the crew sat in stunned silence. They had more questions now than when they arrived. "What do we tell the Galactic Council?" So-young asked. "The truth," Jinwoo replied. "The humans are alive and well, but they have changed dramatically." Boram spent the return journey analyzing everything they had observed. The evidence pointed to one impossible conclusion. Humanity had achieved a technological breakthrough that should have taken millions of years of development. No species in galactic history had advanced so quickly. But how was it possible? And what were these threats that humans claimed to have discovered? Most worrying of all, what would happen when humanity decided to reveal their new capabilities to the rest of the galaxy? As they traveled through hyperspace toward home, none of them realized that human ships were quietly following them, watching their every move with technology that made their presence completely undetectable. The humans were not just preparing for unknown threats. They were carefully observing the reactions of other galactic species to their silence. The game had changed, and humanity was no longer the young, inexperienced species that had joined galactic civilization 2 centuries ago. They had become something new, something powerful, and something that would reshape the future of the entire galaxy. Kyung-ho sat in his chair and stared at the empty screen. For 20 years he had worked at the Galactic Communication Center. Every day messages came from thousands of worlds across the galaxy. Trade deals, news reports, scientific data, and even silly entertainment shows filled the networks. But today something was very wrong. The Earth sector was completely silent. He rubbed his tired eyes and checked the equipment again. All the machines worked perfectly. The other sectors buzzed with normal activity. Ships from the Vegan worlds sent their daily reports. The Corvani military shared battle stories. The Milani traders argued about prices. But from Earth and all human colonies, nothing came through. This cannot be right, Kyung-ho said to himself. He called his supervisor. Sir, we have a problem with the human communication network, he reported. What kind of problem? The supervisor asked. No messages at all. Nothing for 3 days now. There was silence on the other end. Then his supervisor said, check everything twice. If the problem continues, we need to call the experts. Kyung-ho spent the next 2 hours checking every system. The communication arrays worked fine. The signal boosters operated normally. The problem was not on their end. The humans had simply stopped talking. Bo-Ram arrived at the communication center 6 hours later. She was a xenobiologist who studied alien behavior, especially humans. She was known throughout the galaxy as the expert on human psychology. If anyone could understand what was happening, it would be her. Show me the data, Bo-Ram said as soon as she walked in. Kyung-ho pulled up the communication logs on his main screen. Look at this pattern, he said, pointing to the display. For the past 200 years, humans sent an average of 12,000 messages per day from their home system alone. Their colonies added another 8,000 daily messages. Bo-Ram studied the numbers carefully. The pattern was very clear. Human communication had been steady and predictable for decades. They talked about everything: business, science, art, politics, and personal matters. They were one of the most talkative species in the galaxy. When exactly did it stop? She asked. 3 days, 4 hours, and 17 minutes ago, Kyung-ho replied. The last message was a routine shipping report from their Mars colony. After that, complete silence. Bo-Ram frowned. She had studied human behavior for 15 years. Humans were social creatures who loved to communicate. They shared their thoughts, feelings, and ideas constantly. For them to go completely quiet was very unusual. What about emergency signals, she asked. Distress calls? Automated system reports? Nothing. Even their automated weather stations have stopped sending data. This worried Bo-Ram even more. Automated systems did not choose to be quiet. They sent signals unless they were destroyed or deliberately shut down. For humans to stop all communication, including automated systems, meant this was planned. Have other species noticed this? Bo-Ram asked. The Galactic Council received reports from several monitoring stations. Everyone is asking the same question. What happened to the humans? Bo-Ram walked to the large window that looked out into space. In the distance, she could see ships from many different worlds traveling along the hyperspace routes. The galaxy was a busy place, full of trade and communication between thousands of species. But somewhere out there, in the direction of Earth, one of the most active species had gone completely silent. This is not an accident, she said finally. Humans do not just stop talking. When they go quiet, they are usually planning something. Her words made Kyung-ho uncomfortable. What do you mean? In all my studies of human history, I have learned one important thing. When humans stop communicating, it means they are preparing for something big. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is dangerous, but it is never random. The next morning, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. Representatives from 43 different species gathered to discuss the human silence. Some thought it was a technical problem. Others worried about a natural disaster. A few suggested that humans might have encountered a hostile alien force. Jin Woo, a captain in the Galactic Patrol, listened to all the theories. He had worked with humans before and found them to be reliable allies. They were young compared to other galactic species, but they were clever and adaptable. The idea that they had simply vanished seemed impossible. "We need to investigate," Jinwoo told the council. "My ship can reach the Sol system in 4 days. We can find out what is happening." The council agreed. Jinwoo's ship, the Silent Dawn, was chosen to make the first official investigation into human space. Along with his regular crew, he would take Boram as an expert on human behavior and Kyung-ho as a communication specialist. As they prepared for the journey, Boram continued studying human communication patterns. She discovered something interesting in the old data. 3 months before the silence began, human scientific research had increased dramatically. They had requested information about black holes, neutron stars, and quantum physics from the Galactic Library. At the time, no one thought this was unusual. Humans were always curious about new scientific discoveries. But now, looking at the pattern, Boram realized the timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The humans had been preparing for something for months. The silence was not sudden. It was the final step in a larger plan. "Jinwoo," she said as they boarded the Silent. "I think the humans planned this silence. They stopped talking for a reason." "What reason?" he asked. "I do not know yet, but I am certain they are not in danger. They chose this." The Silent Dawn left the monitoring station and entered hyperspace toward the Sol system. As they traveled, more reports came from other parts of the galaxy. Human colonies everywhere had gone quiet at exactly the same time. It was perfectly coordinated across hundreds of worlds, separated by thousands of light years. This level of coordination required incredible planning and technology. Most species in the galaxy could not organize such a precise action across their entire civilization. But humans had somehow managed to make their entire species go silent at exactly the same moment. During the journey, Kyung-ho tried different methods to contact human space. He sent messages on emergency frequencies, used old diplomatic channels, and even tried personal communication codes given to him by human friends. Every attempt failed. The humans were receiving the signals. The equipment showed successful transmission, but no one was answering. "It is like they can hear us, but they choose not to respond," he told Jinwoo. "That is somehow more frightening than if they could not hear us at all," Jinwoo replied. Boram spent her time reviewing everything she knew about human psychology and behavior. Humans were emotional creatures who formed strong bonds with each other and with other species. They valued communication and cooperation. For them to cut off all contact with their galactic neighbors meant something very important was happening. As the Silent Dawn approached the edge of human space, long-range sensors began picking up interesting readings. Human ships were moving throughout their territory, but in patterns that seemed different from normal. There was more activity than usual, not less. "If there was a disaster, we would see damage or evacuation," Jinwoo observed. "Instead, it looks like they are busier than ever." The sensors also detected new energy signatures from several human research stations. These readings were unlike anything in the galactic database. Whatever the humans were doing, they were using technologies that other species did not recognize. "Captain," the navigation officer called out. "We are approaching the outer edge of the Sol system. Should I take us closer?" Jinwoo looked at the sensor displays. Everything appeared normal in human space. Planets orbited their star as expected. Space stations operated with full power. Ships moved along regular patrol routes. The only thing missing was any form of communication. "Take us to the traditional first contact position," Jinwoo ordered. "Let us see if the humans will acknowledge our presence." As the Silent Dawn moved into the Sol system, Kyung-ho began broadcasting standard greeting messages on all frequencies. He identified their ship, explained their peaceful mission, and requested permission to approach Earth. The response was immediate and unexpected. A small human ship appeared on their sensors. moving to intercept them. It was a design none of them had seen before, sleeker and more advanced than previous human vessels. "Unknown ship, this is the Earth Defense Force," came a calm human voice over the communication system. "Please state your business in Sol space." Jinwoo felt relief that the humans were at least responding. But he also noticed something strange. In the message, the humans had never called themselves the Earth Defense Force before. They had always used their traditional military names. "This is Captain Jinwoo of the Galactic Patrol ship Silent Dawn," he replied. "We have come to investigate the communication silence from human space. The Galactic Council is concerned about your welfare." There was a long pause before the human responded. "Thank you for your concern, Captain. All human territories are secure and functioning normally. Please maintain your current position while we arrange for a representative to meet with you." The communication ended abruptly. Jinwoo, Boram, and Kyung-ho looked at each other with confusion and growing worry. The humans were clearly alive and organized. But something had changed. Something important. News of the human silence spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species had their own theory about what was happening. In the trading centers of the Milani Collective, merchants worried about losing one of their best customers. The humans bought everything: raw materials, finished goods, exotic foods, and luxury items. Without human trade, many businesses would suffer. One Sik, a galactic historian working on the planet New Vega, spent his days reading ancient records. He was looking for similar events in galactic history. What he found made him very uncomfortable. There have been 12 cases of complete species silence in recorded history, he reported to the Galactic Council. 7 of those species were extinct within 10 years. 3 became so powerful that they dominated entire sectors of the galaxy. 2 simply disappeared and were never seen again. The council members listened with growing concern. Humans were still young by galactic standards, but they had always been innovative and unpredictable. If they were following the pattern of species that gained enormous power, the balance of galactic civilization could change completely. Da Yun, a military analyst working for the Corvani Defense Force, had been studying human ship movements for weeks. What she discovered was even more disturbing than 1-6 historical research. "Look at these patterns," she told her commanding officer, spreading star charts across the table. "Human ships have been moving into position for months. They now control every major hyperspace junction in their region of the galaxy." Her commander studied the charts carefully. "Are they planning to invade other territories?" "No, sir. This is not an invasion formation. This is a defensive perimeter. But it is also perfectly positioned to control galactic trade and travel. If the humans wanted to, they could cut off entire sectors from the rest of the galaxy." The implications were staggering. Humans had quietly positioned themselves to have enormous influence over galactic commerce and communication. They could help or hurt any species they chose, all while maintaining the appearance of peaceful defense. Minho had worked as a liaison between humans and other galactic species for 15 years. He knew human culture better than almost any non-human. When the silence began, he was desperate to understand what was happening to his friends and colleagues on Earth. "I need to visit Earth," he told his supervisor at the Galactic Diplomatic Service. "I have personal relationships there. Maybe they will talk to me." His supervisor was skeptical. The patrol ship Silent Dawn tried official channels and learned almost nothing. "What makes you think a personal visit will work better?" "Because humans value friendship and personal connections. If anyone can get them to explain what is happening, it might be someone they trust." 3 days later, Minho's ship approached the Sol system using his old diplomatic credentials. He had visited Earth many times and knew the standard procedures. But as soon as he crossed into human space, he knew something was very different. A human ship appeared immediately, moving with the same impossible smoothness that Jinwoo had observed. But this vessel was even more advanced than the Silence Keeper. It seemed to bend space around itself as it moved. "Diplomatic Vessel Harmony Bridge, this is the Earth Defense Force," came a familiar voice. Minho recognized it as his old friend Jun Seok, who had worked in the Human Foreign Ministry. Jun Seok, "This is Minho. I've come to check on my friends and learn what is happening." There was a long pause before Jun Seok replied. When he spoke, his voice was formal and distant. Minho, it is good to hear from you. However, I must inform you that Earth is currently closed to visitors. We appreciate your concern, but you must return to non-human space immediately. Minho was shocked. Jun Seok had always been warm and friendly. They had shared meals together and discussed philosophy for hours. Now he spoke like a stranger following strict orders. Jun Seok, what has happened? Are you in danger? Is there something I can do to help? We are not in danger, Minho. We are safer than we have ever been. But we cannot allow visitors at this time. Please understand that this is not personal. These restrictions apply to all non-human individuals and vessels. As Minho's ship was escorted to the edge of human space, he noticed the same things that other observers had seen: massive construction projects, increased industrial activity, and military installations that seemed far beyond previous human capabilities. But he also noticed something else. The human ship escorting him was not just advanced, it was beautiful. Its design showed an artistic sensibility that was completely new. It was as if humans had not only advanced technologically, but had also developed a new aesthetic sense. Jun Seok, he said over the communication channel. That is a beautiful ship you are flying. Thank you, came the reply. And for just a moment, Jun Seok's voice sounded like his old friendly self. We have learned to see beauty and function as parts of the same thing. After Minho returned with his report, the Galactic Council held another emergency session. The evidence was clear. Humanity had undergone a transformation that was unprecedented in galactic history. They had advanced their technology, reorganized their military, and positioned themselves strategically throughout their region of space. More concerning was their attitude. Humans had always been eager to cooperate and share with other species. Now they were secretive and isolated. They were polite but firm in keeping other species away from their territories. What are they hiding? Demanded the Corvani representative. No species make such dramatic changes without a reason. Are they developing weapons? Are they planning to attack other worlds? Boram, who had become the galaxy's leading expert on the human situation, presented her analysis to the council. Based on all available evidence, I do not believe humans are planning aggressive action, but I do believe they are preparing for something significant. What kind of preparation? Asked the Milani trade minister. I think they have discovered something that they believe represents a threat to galactic civilization. Their behavior suggests they are working to develop solutions to this threat. The council chamber filled with worried murmurs. If humans had discovered some kind of danger that other species had not detected, why were they keeping it secret? Why not share the information so that all galactic civilizations could work together on solutions? Wansik raised his hand to speak. In my historical research, I found something interesting. The three species that gained enormous power after going silent all claimed to be protecting the galaxy from threats that others could not see. In each case, they used their protective role to justify taking control of larger and larger territories. Are you suggesting that humans are using a false threat to justify a power grab? The council moderator asked. I am suggesting that we need to be very careful. Humans may genuinely believe they are protecting the galaxy, but their methods of protection might involve controlling the rest of us. As the council debated, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human research stations near black holes were generating energy readings that defied explanation. Human mining operations were extracting materials at impossible rates. Most mysteriously, human ships had been detected in deep space, traveling to regions where no intelligent species lived. What are they doing in the empty regions of space? Dayun wondered. There are no resources there, no strategic value. Why send ships to places with nothing but empty space and distant stars? Su Jin, a xenopsychologist who specialized in predicting species behavior, had been studying human psychology for months. She had reached a disturbing conclusion. I believe humans are conducting experiments, she told a small group of experts. The energy readings, the material extraction, the trips to empty space, it all suggests they are testing technologies that are too dangerous to use near populated areas. What kind of technologies? Wansik asked. The kind that could reshape reality itself, Sujin replied. The kind that could give them power over the fundamental forces of the universe. Her words sent chills through everyone present. If humans had discovered ways to manipulate the basic laws of physics, they would have capabilities beyond anything known to galactic civilization. They could literally reshape worlds, move stars, or bend space and time to their will. But why would they keep such discoveries secret? Why not share them with other species for the benefit of all galactic civilization? The answer, when it came, would shock every species in the galaxy. But for now, they could only watch and wait as humanity continued its mysterious work in silence. On a hidden research station deep in human space, Korean scientist Young Mi stood before a massive experimental device. Energy coursed through crystalline structures that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Around her, dozens of other researchers monitored readings that would have been impossible to achieve just months earlier. Test sequence 7 is complete, she announced. The quantum field stabilizers are holding at 97% efficiency. Her colleague Gi-hun checked the security monitors. All sectors clear. No unauthorized observers. Young Mi nodded and began preparations for the next test. What they were working on would change everything. But first, they needed to be absolutely certain it would work when the time came. In the darkness between stars, something stirred. 6 months after the silence began, humanity finally chose to speak. But they did not use diplomatic channels or send messages to the Galactic Council. Instead, every communication network, news system, and information hub across the galaxy received the same transmission at exactly the same moment. The message appeared simultaneously on screens in government buildings, trading centers, military bases, and private homes. No species could block it or turn it off. It simply appeared, as if the humans had found a way to speak directly to every electronic device in galactic civilization. Dong-hyun, the director of Galactic Intelligence, was in his office when the message began. His secure communication system, which was supposed to be completely isolated from public networks, suddenly displayed a simple text message in perfectly translated galactic standard language. Citizens of the galaxy, the message read, "This is humanity speaking. We apologize for our silence, but it was necessary for the work we needed to complete. Today we share with you the reason for our quiet time and the discoveries we have made." Across the galaxy, billions of beings stopped what they were doing to read the message. In the Corvani military headquarters, generals gathered around screens. On Milani trading stations, merchants abandoned their negotiations to focus on the human announcement. Even in the most remote colonies, people watched with amazement as humanity broke its silence. During our period of quiet development, we discovered evidence of a threat approaching our galaxy. The message continued. This threat comes from outside our galaxy and represents danger to all intelligent life. We have been preparing defenses and solutions. Su Jin, the xenopsychologist who had predicted that humans were conducting dangerous experiments, felt her blood run cold as she read those words. An external galactic threat was the worst possible scenario. If something powerful enough to threaten entire galaxies was approaching, no single species could defend against it alone. The message continued. To demonstrate our sincerity and our new capabilities, we will now provide a visible proof of the technologies we have developed during our silence. Please observe the Sol system for the next 60 minutes. Every astronomical observatory, military monitoring station, and scientific research facility in the galaxy immediately turned their instruments toward human space. What they saw would be remembered for thousands of years. The sun began to change color. Earth's star, which had burned yellow-white for billions of years, slowly shifted through the spectrum of light. First it became orange, then red, then purple, then blue. For exactly 1 hour, the Sol system's primary star cycled through colors that should have been impossible for any natural stellar object. Jae Sung, captain of the science vessel Deep Explorer, watched the display with his mouth open in shock. How are they doing that? It should be impossible to alter stellar fusion processes without destroying the star entirely. His science officer, a vegan physicist named Dr. Krell, was frantically checking his instruments. Captain, the star's mass and energy output remain constant. They are not changing the nuclear fusion. They are somehow changing the properties of the light itself as it leaves the stellar surface. But that would require manipulating electromagnetic radiation on a stellar scale, Jae-sung whispered. The energy requirements would be enormous. Exactly, which means humanity has learned to harness energy sources we do not understand. The color display ended after precisely 1 hour, and the sun returned to its normal yellow-white appearance. Immediately, the human message continued on every screen across the galaxy. The demonstration you have just witnessed required manipulation of quantum field structures on a stellar scale, the message read. This same technology, refined and expanded, will serve as our primary defense against the approaching threat. Young Mi, the scientist who had been working on the quantum field experiments, smiled with satisfaction as she watched the galactic reaction to their demonstration. Months of careful research and testing had made it possible to alter light properties without damaging the star itself. It was a perfect way to show their new capabilities without causing harm. The message provided more details. We have designated this period of development as the quiet evolution. During these months, humanity has achieved breakthroughs in quantum mechanics, energy manipulation, faster-than-light communication, and dimensional physics. These advances have been necessary to prepare for what is coming. Across the galaxy, scientists struggled to understand what they were hearing. Dimensional physics was theoretical. No species had ever successfully manipulated the fundamental dimensions of space-time. If humans had mastered these technologies, they had leaped ahead of every other galactic civilization by millions of years. The approaching threat consists of entities from outside our galaxy, the message continued. They have consumed entire galaxies and other regions of the universe. Our long-range sensors detected their approach 18 months ago. They will arrive in approximately 6 months. This information caused panic in government centers throughout the galaxy. An external threat capable of consuming galaxies meant that every species, every world, and every individual was in deadly danger. Traditional military forces would be useless against such a threat, but humans claim to have solutions. We have developed defensive technologies based on quantum field manipulation and dimensional engineering, the message explained. However, these defenses work best when integrated with the natural strengths and capabilities of all galactic species. We are prepared to share our technology, but we will need complete cooperation from all civilizations. The final part of the message was both reassuring and concerning. Humanity does not seek to control or dominate other species. We seek to protect all intelligent life in our galaxy. The quiet evolution was necessary to develop solutions quickly and secretly without causing panic or interference. Now that our preparations are nearly complete, we are ready to work with all species to defend our shared home. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. For several minutes, no government issued statements, no news services provided commentary, and no individual seemed able to process what they had just learned. Then the questions began. How had humans detected a threat that the galaxy's most advanced species had missed? How had they developed such incredible technologies in just months? Most importantly, could they really protect the galaxy from something powerful enough to consume entire galaxies? Hyun-woo, who had been chosen as humanity's first ambassador to address the Galactic Council since the silence began, received permission to speak to the emergency session that was called immediately after the message. He was a tall, calm man who had spent years studying diplomatic relations between species, but as he stood before the representatives of 43 civilizations, he carried the weight of humanity's incredible claims. Honorable representatives, he began, I understand that our message has raised many questions and concerns. I am here to provide more detailed information and to begin the process of cooperation that will be necessary to defend our galaxy. The Corvani representative was the first to speak. How do we know this threat is real? How do we know you are not using fear to gain control over other species? Hyun-woo nodded calmly. We expected this question. In 3 days, our long-range sensors will be made available to all species so you can verify the approach of the external entities. We will also provide technical specifications for our defensive technologies, so your scientists can understand what we have developed. The Milani Trade Minister asked, "Why did you develop these technologies in secret? Why not work with other species from the beginning?" "Because," Hyan-Wu replied, "the technologies we developed are so dangerous that they could destroy entire solar systems if used incorrectly. We needed to ensure complete safety before sharing them. Also, we needed to prevent panic while we determined whether effective defenses were possible." Boram, who had studied human psychology for years, asked the question that worried her most. What will humanity expect in return for this protection? Hyan-Wu's answer surprised everyone. Nothing. The galaxy is our home too. We protect it because we live in it, not because we want to rule it. However, effective defense will require unprecedented cooperation between all species. Some civilizations will need to contribute resources, others will provide specialized knowledge, and all will need to follow coordinated defensive strategies. The session continued for hours, with representatives asking detailed questions about human capabilities, the nature of the external threat, and the practical requirements of galactic defense. Slowly, a picture emerged of humanity's incredible transformation. They had not just advanced their technology, they had developed an entirely new understanding of reality itself. They could manipulate the fundamental forces of physics, alter the properties of matter and energy, and coordinate activities across vast distances using instantaneous communication. But they had also maintained their essential humanity. They still valued cooperation, still respected other species, and still preferred to work together rather than dominate others. As the session ended, it was clear that the galaxy faced two possible futures. The external threat arrived exactly when humanity predicted. Long-range sensors across the galaxy detected massive objects entering from intergalactic space, vessels so large they could have been mistaken for small moons. But these were not ships in any traditional sense. They were something far more terrifying. Gi-hun stood in the command center of humanity's primary defense station, watching as the enemy entities approached. Around him, officers from dozens of different galactic species worked together at control stations that used human quantum technology, integrated with alien expertise. "Enemy contact confirmed," reported Seok-jin, a Korean officer working with a Vegan sensor specialist. 12 primary entities, each approximately 1,000 kilometers in diameter. They are not using conventional propulsion. Young Mi, now serving as the chief scientist for the Galactic Defense Project, studied the incoming data with growing concern. They appear to be moving by consuming space itself. Each entity creates a quantum field that breaks down matter and energy, converting everything into fuel for their movement. This was worse than anyone had imagined. The external entities did not just destroy civilizations. They consumed the very fabric of reality, leaving nothing behind but empty void. "How long until they reach inhabited systems?" asked Commander Voss, a Corvani military leader who had initially distrusted human motives but now worked closely with the defense project. "At their current rate of approach, they will reach the outer colonies in 18 hours, Young Mi replied. "But our defensive network is ready." The past 6 months had been a period of incredible cooperation across the galaxy. Once other species verified that the external threat was real, they had thrown themselves into supporting humanity's defensive preparations. The Milani provided raw materials from their vast trading networks. The Corvani contributed their military expertise and disciplined organization. The Vegan scientists offered their advanced theoretical knowledge. Dozens of other species added their own unique capabilities to the defense effort. But the heart of the defense was humanity's quantum field technology. During their period of silence, they had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that held reality together. Now that knowledge would be tested against an enemy that seemed to exist outside normal physical laws. "All species, prepare for coordinated defense implementation," Gi-hun announced over the Galactic Communication Network. "Remember, this will only work if every civilization follows the plan exactly." On worlds throughout the galaxy, billions of beings made final preparations. The defense strategy was unlike anything previously attempted in galactic history. Instead of meeting the enemy with traditional weapons, they would use the quantum field generators to create barriers that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Yunji, who led the Human Galactic Integration Program, coordinated the efforts of 67 different species. Each civilization had specific roles based on their natural abilities and technological strengths. The precision required was incredible. Timing errors of even a few seconds could cause the entire defense network to collapse. Phase 1 initiating, Young Mai announced. All quantum field generators coming online. Across hundreds of star systems, massive installations powered up with energy drawn from stars, black holes, and the quantum vacuum itself. The generators were a combination of human dimensional engineering and alien technologies that created effects no single species could have achieved alone. The first wave of defense activated just as the external entities reached the galaxy's outer rim. Instead of trying to destroy the entities directly, the quantum barriers altered the properties of space around them. The entities, which moved by consuming reality, suddenly found themselves in regions where the fundamental laws of physics operated differently. Direct hit on Entity 1, reported a Vegan sensor operator. It has stopped forward movement and appears to be confused. The external entities had never encountered resistance like this. For millions of years, they had consumed galaxies by breaking down matter and energy into basic components. But the quantum barriers made matter and energy behave in ways that their consumption processes could not handle. Entity 3 is attempting to bypass the barriers, warned another operator. It is changing course toward the Milani trading hub. Phase 2. Initiate defensive repositioning, Gihun commanded. This was where the cooperation between species became critical. The quantum barriers were not fixed in place. They could be moved and adjusted in real time, but doing so required perfect coordination between human quantum field operators and alien specialists who understood local space conditions. A joint human Corvani team adjusted the barriers to intercept Entity 3 before it could reach populated systems. The entity struck the quantum field and immediately began to destabilize. Its consumption processes, designed to work in normal space-time, could not function in the altered reality zones created by the barriers. Incredible, whispered Dr. Krell, the vegan physicist who had witnessed humanity's first stellar demonstration. The entities are not being destroyed. They are being converted into harmless matter and energy. This had been humanity's greatest breakthrough during the quiet evolution. Instead of trying to fight the external entities with superior weapons, they had learned to change the rules of reality itself. The entities could not consume what they could not understand, and they could not understand physics that operated according to quantum mechanical principles they had never encountered. But the battle was far from over. The external entities began to adapt, sending smaller fragments ahead to test different approaches to the barrier system. Some tried to tunnel through alternate dimensions. Others attempted to overload the quantum generators with massive energy bursts. They are learning, Youngmi observed with concern. We need to implement the final phase before they find a way through our defenses. The final phase was the most dangerous part of the plan. Instead of maintaining defensive barriers, humanity would use their quantum field technology to trap the external entities in closed dimensional loops. The entities would continue to exist, but they would be isolated from normal space-time, unable to interact with or consume anything in the galaxy. All species prepare for Phase 3, Gihun announced. This is the critical moment. If we succeed, the galaxy will be safe. If we fail, we will have used up our defensive capabilities and left ourselves vulnerable. The implementation of Phase 3 required every species to contribute simultaneously. Human quantum field generators provided the dimensional framework. Corvani military precision ensured perfect timing. Milani resource networks supplied the massive energy requirements. Vegan scientific calculations guided the complex mathematical processes. Dozens of other species added their own essential contributions to the effort. For 7 hours, the combined forces of galactic civilization worked together with a level of coordination that had never been achieved before. Species that had been enemies for centuries cooperated perfectly. Worlds that had never spoken to each other shared critical resources without hesitation. Dimensional loop formation at 60%, Youngmi reported, 70%, 85%. The external entities seemed to sense what was happening. They launched desperate attacks against the quantum barriers, trying to break free before the dimensional loops could be completed. Reality itself seemed to shake as forces beyond normal physics clashed with technologies that manipulated the foundations of existence. 97%, Youngmi announced, her voice tense with concentration. 98%, 99%. In the final moment, Entity 7 managed to break partially through the quantum barriers. For a terrifying instant, it seemed as though the entire defensive effort might collapse. But a quick adjustment by a joint human-alien team redirected the entity's momentum into the dimensional loop just as it closed. 100% completion, Youngmi announced with relief. All external entities successfully isolated in closed dimensional space. They no longer have access to our reality. Across the galaxy, celebrations erupted on thousands of worlds. Species that had faced extinction just hours before now found themselves safe, protected by a defensive system that represented the combined efforts of their entire galactic community. But perhaps the most important celebration took place in the command center, where representatives of every galactic species worked side by side with their human colleagues. "We did it," said Commander Voss, shaking hands with Gihun. "Not humans alone, not any single species, but all of us together." Hyun Woo, who had become humanity's primary representative to the galactic community, addressed the mixed crowd of beings in the command center. "Today we learned something important. No species, no matter how advanced, can face the greatest challenges alone. But when we work together, when we combine our different strengths and perspectives, we can overcome anything." The external threat had been defeated, but the effects of the crisis would reshape galactic civilization for thousands of years to come. The cooperation networks established during the emergency became permanent institutions. The technologies, developed through human-alien collaboration, opened possibilities that no species had imagined alone.